we advise deals with some heavy topics and subjects, such as mental health, suicide, sexual assault, and more. Please listen at your own discretion and please seek professional help if you are struggling. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I know it's been a while. Honestly, I've sort of just taken a few weeks to just focus on myself. I also didn't have a ton to talk about that I hadn't already talked about, and I was starting to feel very repetitive, so I sort of wanted to break away for a bit. But in saying that, this episode I wanted to talk about the importance of self-care and just having a reset, doing something for yourself that just refreshes and resets. Even if it's just for a day or two, it can make the world of difference. As that's pretty much what I've done the past 2 weeks, and that doesn't happen often, if ever, for me. So we'll start with the first weekend. So not this weekend gone, but the weekend prior. I actually went away for a couple of days with my friend Jess. If you listen to my other podcast, you may know Jess. She was a co-host on my movie podcast, which was originally The Gruesome Twosome, which is now Film Spark. You may be a little bit familiar with what's going on with her if you do listen to that. If you don't, I'll fill you in anyway. But Jess had some serious health issues the past 12 months. She had a lot of nerve issues. She couldn't walk, she couldn't move, she lost a shit ton of weight, been in and out of hospital. Unfortunately, she's back in hospital as we speak, but I'll come back to that later. And, she wasn't able to leave her house. It was like being in lockdown for COVID all over again. And Jess and I are extremely close, and it was really, really hard to see my friend go through something like that. Meanwhile, while she's going through that, I'm dealing with my grandfather stuff that I've mentioned in previous episodes. Between that and work and some other personal stuff going on, I kind of broke. I gotten to the point where I just didn't want to do anything. I felt like I was in a rut. I felt like I was going around in circles. My grandfather still is very up and down. He could literally go any day, and sometimes it feels like he's so far away from leaving that this is all a fever dream and someone's playing a horrible joke. To deal with the unknown on both sides of unknowing what my friend is going through and not being diagnosed with anything for almost a year, if not longer, and having the unknown of when my grandfather will pass. There were two very conflicting thoughts, two very conflicting circumstances, and something I've never dealt with before. You want to be there for your friends, you want to help them get through things, and she was describing things to me like she didn't want to be here anymore. She was in so much pain and she just felt like she couldn't do anything, so what was the point? And taking all of that on board while dealing with my own mental health struggles and then dealing with my grandfather, the past 6 months minimum has been a mess. I've been so incredibly up and down. I've shut off from people at times. I've really struggled with work and focusing, and it got to a point where I just needed to get away. Now, I'm not poor by any means, but I am living paycheck to paycheck currently due to my own circumstances, and I'm not going to go into my finances here, but because of that, something as simple as a weekend away takes a fair amount of planning. So I'd mentioned it to Jess a long time ago that we should go away together. This was before she had gotten anywhere near as bad as she had. And it was trying to find a time, and we had to stop, and there was a whole heap of issues. And then recently, Jess was actually diagnosed. I can't say the word for the life of me, but it's a vitamin B issue as well as many other issues combined into one that affects her nervous system. And she was on medication and she was doing well and she was starting to feel human again. And so we brought up the idea again of going away. And so for the past few months, we've sort of been discussing, where we go, what do we do, what's feasible for both of us. Because you got to take into account Jess hasn't been able to work either. So, it's not like we're rolling in money and can just go anywhere and everywhere. But in saying that, we decided to go to Phillip Island. Now, if you're from Victoria, the Melbourne area, you probably know where Phillip Island is. If you're not, it's not completely detached from like Australia or anything. But it's very southeast of Melbourne. It's about an hour and a bit from where I currently live, but it feels like its own little world. It's coastal. It is its own little island. It's this really beautiful area that's just so out of suburbia, especially where we were, and it was perfect. I managed to get her up and about and moving. It's the first time that she'd had decent movement in a long time. We both went. We hired this sort of like an Airbnb little shack of a house that was it was like not even a 5-minute walk to the beach, surrounded by nature, kookaburras everywhere. Like, it was so quintessential, it was so quaint, and it was crazy how 2 days of being at this little house in the middle of what we felt was paradise could make such a difference to our mental health. It's not like we went and did a whole heap of crazy touristy things or anything. We went out for dinner and we went to the beach, which blew both of our minds. Neither of us had been to a beach in forever, especially Jess, and she also didn't know how she would feel in the water. And for those few moments that we were in the water, it was like nothing mattered. That water quite literally felt like that water was washing away everything that we had dealt with in that 6 to 12 months prior. It was freezing, don't get me wrong. It's very south, so it was very cold, but to sit at a beach in the water together, just bobbing, just sounds ridiculous, but we were just bobbing and floating around. It just felt like we were back to normal. It felt like, and this may sound harsh to some people who don't understand, but it felt like my grandfather's issues were miles and miles away that I didn't have to deal with. And just felt like a human being again. Like, she cried because she felt so normal again. And it was incredible to go through something so small and what felt like so minuscule and yet made the biggest difference in the world. Like 2 days to just focus on yourself, not worrying about what needs to be paid, not worrying about work. Like, I took the Friday off work, and that's, we spent the whole weekend there. And it just really puts into perspective how important it is to have a reset now and then. Like, don't feel selfish for it, which is part of my problem as to why I don't do it very often. I almost feel guilty. I felt very guilty. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Coming back, I felt very guilty for enjoying myself, knowing everything that was going on around me. But even so, I still felt very refreshed. I still felt very reset. Like it was a button. Like someone came up and pushed a button and was like, boop, reset. and that was it. And then to watch Jess, this person, this friend that I've had, we've been friends for over a decade now, and to watch her go through something so life-changing like that, and then to come out of it the other side so happy and looking and feeling so normal was incredible. Something as simple as having a dinner to ourselves, looking over the ocean, it really ups your spirits. Unfortunately, when we got back, Jess has had to go back to hospital because she had a lot of flare-ups and wasn't able to walk again. She is on the mend. She will be okay, but yeah, it's unfortunate that after something like that, she, unfortunately went back downhill again. But to know that I was able to help provide her that one little bit of paradise, I mean, it sounds cliche, but that's how it felt. We were in our own bubble, nothing else mattered, no one else mattered, and we just sat around watching movies. The first night we ordered pizza, got acquainted with the house and the area, and it was everything we needed and more. And I think because of how much of a difference that made for us, it really put into perspective how often we need to do it. Take that time out, whether it be an hour or two just to sit and read a book to yourself, or a weekend or a week away somewhere. Self-care is so important. So incredibly important. And it's kind of funny because I came back and I didn't want to do anything, hence why there's no episode for that week, and my other podcasts are behind now too because of it, but honestly, I didn't care. I'll catch up. I'm usually very harsh on myself for not sticking to schedules and being behind on things, but this week I just didn't care. Especially because not only did I have that weekend away with Jess, the weekend just gone, I just went to my very first hockey match. Now, if you guys are listening and you're from, outside of Australia, NHL isn't as big here, if really that big at all, compared to especially the States. And the fact that they brought a game or two games from the preseason here to Australia, both with, one of the teams I follow, who I'm a Rangers and a Coyotes fan, and the Coyotes came and I went on the Saturday and it was like another reset all over again. I did go by myself. It was extremely hard to get tickets for more than one person, and I don't really know many people who would actually go, but I felt like I'd stepped into a whole other world, and it was like a whole different way of self-care. It was doing something I enjoyed, watching something I enjoyed in person at Rod Laver Arena of all places, and something as simple as just a day to myself going to watch hockey made the world a difference. I came back and I had an absolute shitstorm of a week with my work. I did go downhill a bit again at some points, but I came back up and, I had the weekend away, and I had the weekend with hockey, and then this week is a short week as well because we have Friday as a public holiday here in Melbourne. So, I feel like, as silly as it sounds, something as simple as going to a sporting game, reading a book, seeing a friend, do those things. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel selfish. Because your mental health matters as much as those around you. And I think that is something we need to remember a lot. Is we care, a lot of us, not everyone, but we care for those around us more than we care for ourselves. And sometimes it pays and is required to be selfish. Because you matter. You matter, you care. Everyone matters. And I really hope that whoever listens to this episode, after listening, you take at least just an hour, baby steps, just an hour to yourself, whether that be soaking in a bath, listening to some music, going for a walk. Zone out, do something for you, block out the world, and reset. Because resetting and refreshing is honestly the best thing you can do for your mental health. Sure, you may come back to some shitty stuff sometimes, and reality may whack you in the face when you snap out of it. But you tend to appreciate those moments more because of that. Those moments that you get to yourself, that you get away from the kids, you get away from the family, you get away from hell, you get away from the finances. Whatever it may be. So, I don't usually do this, and I don't say the word homework very often because it triggers from school, but your homework, if you're listening to this, I'm giving you homework, and that homework is to take out something as minimal as an hour, or plan a weekend or a week away somewhere and focus on yourself. Do something for you, because the issues will be there when you get back. You can afford to forget about life for one day, for 1 hour, for 1 week. So your homework is to focus on you at least once. But with that being said, a bit of a short and sweet episode. I'm going to end it here. So hopefully I'll get back into a schedule soon. I do apologize for the gaps. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the support. The numbers just keep climbing and I appreciate it so much. And for those of you who have sent me feedback, I don't like to talk about it on here because it's personal experiences from you guys. However, just know that I appreciate it so much. And I really hope things get better. And I wish nothing for the best for you guys. For every single one of you listening. Have a fantastic day, and you'll hear from me soon. Bye, guys. Hi, like what you heard? Need a bit more Nuggiez in your life? Then come follow us on all our socials. That's at SSNUGGIEZ pod on all socials. Linktree is linktr.ee/SS Nuggiez pod as well. Come listen to us on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, Good Pods and more. Come on over, we always need an extra hug. Listener discretion is advised. This is not for the faint of heart. We deal with all topics, so just be aware. But come on over. You're always welcome.